Morning everyone, and welcome back to This Week in F1. And this week F1 was in Las Vegas for the third and final American Grand Prix. Now, as far as these American races go, Las Vegas definitely makes the most sense as far as Formula 1 goes. The extortionate amount of money, the false hope of winning millions in Vegas is the exact same false hope every F1 fan has that someone other than the Dutchie will win a race. And there's the fact that they're both run by a bunch of wankers.
They're a fucking bunch of wankers.
But on the flip side, the track looks like an upside down pig and doubles as an ice rink. During construction, it killed its builders. The locals hate it because it's been a massive disruption to their lives. The majority of F1 fans hate it because it's yet another American circuit and it's another street circuit, which is tragic for racing. Not only to mention it's an early morning race, and if you like early morning races, then you are a Satanist. And on top of all of that, it somehow managed to turn Toto Wolff into an even bigger twat than usual, and we haven't even gotten to the action yet.
Which went well.
Ambitious but rubbish.
10 minutes into the first practice, a drain hole cover tries to kill Carlos Sainz, and because of this assassination attempt, all the other drain holes around the track had to be filled in with cement, so they couldn't make another attempt at the Spaniard's life. This all meant that Carlos Sainz needed a new car because his floor had been smashed to pieces, his engine gone kaput, and his electricity had run out.
I think electricity is a mystery.
So all the teams decided, because the track had tried to assassinate Sainz Jr., he shouldn't have to take any penalties. No, of course they didn't. And while it was never officially said which team blocked it, everyone knows it was Mercedes. And honestly, it just makes them look like a bunch of arseholes.
Dear Lord, what a sad little life, Jane.
Toto Wolff, especially this weekend, was a massive cock. And before I get into Toto Wolff's whining, I would just like to question, why is it that the two biggest teams have the two most blood-boilingly annoying team principals? Honestly, they're like the two biggest pricks on the grid. No, actually, no, that's not right. These are the two biggest pricks on the grid. But these two aren't far behind. They constantly whinge and whine all weekend long. And this week, Toto Wolff has been atrocious, defending the Vegas clown show with his life.
I love Pakistan, I will sacrifice my life for Pakistan!
He starts waffling about how it's an event which sets new standards, and then says, so what if a drain hole cover hits a car? Is he alright in the head? If that was a Mercedes, he'd be blowing a fucking gasket. This clusterfuck would have looked like the definition of sanity compared to what he would have said if the drain cover hit Hamilton. The rest of what he said was more of the same. It's all over Twitter and he just looks like a massive knob.
Oh, fuck off, you fat wanker.
After the rest of the practices went by with many lockups and more Toto Wolff Vegas propaganda, qualifying got underway. And immediately Zach Brown was getting Vietnam-esque flashbacks as both McLarens were out in Q1 for the first time since Miami, and that was only the start of their problems.
Oh, that's not gone well.
Q2 saw Perez out and Hamilton failing to take advantage, also being unable to make it to Q3.
Oh, well done.
And Q3 saw Charles Leclerc take pole, which is just another way of saying Max Verstappen won the race.
I fucking knew it.
Also in Q3, Williams somehow locked out the third row. Unfortunately for them, that was the peak of their weekend. Now on to the main event of the weekend, the race. And by lap 1, turn 1, shit had already hit the fan, as Verstappen does his obligatory dive up the inside of Charles Leclerc. Only this time, he fails to stay on the track and forces them both wide, but still manages to get ahead.
Did you see what I did there?
It's a scam.
Further back, Alonso spun around, blocking Bottas, so he decided to give him a little kiss for his troubles. Carlos Sainz tags the rear tyre of Lewis Hamilton and spins round, pouring even more misery on top of Carlos Sainz's weekend.
Really?
Surprisingly, this caused very little debris, which meant it was only a virtual safety car, which didn't change much. Then on lap 3, Lando Norris went over a bump and spun off in a shower of sparks, landing him in the hospital, looking like he just hit a fat bowl. This brought out the full safety car, bunching everyone back together until it came in on lap 6, where everything stayed pretty much the same as Max Verstappen soared off into the distance until lap 8, where the stewards finally decided to give him a penalty for the botched move on Leclerc.
What took you so long, idiot?
There are two main things about this penalty, really. The first is how long it took to give. Now, I'm not a race steward by any means, but it was obvious this was a penalty. He pushed Leclerc off the track while going off himself and gaining a position. If that's not a penalty, there's no point in having a penalty system. So the fact it took them 8 laps, during which there was a virtual and full safety car, is fucking stupid. Second is the harshness of the penalty, and I have less of an issue with this. Personally, I feel he should have been forced to give the position back, and it would have been very easy to do so if the stewards got their shit together, because then they could have just swapped under the safety car. Now, in terms of length of the penalty, the 5-second penalty may not have been fair in terms of impact on the race, but in terms of consistency this season, it was a fair penalty. If we look back over the season, a 5-second penalty is a very common penalty given for shitty overtakes, like Hamilton on Piastri in Monza. Same season, only in this case, it ruined Piastri's race completely, and Hamilton was only given a 5-second penalty, so I think the rule needs to be changed moving forward, but for the current season, that was a fair penalty for Verstappen. Moving further along in the race to lap 16, and Charles Leclerc had managed to do the impossible and catch back up to Max.
I didn't know he could do that.
Verstappen came in to get fresh tyres and serve his 5-second penalty. This gave Charles Leclerc the lead for the first time since the first turn, and it looked like we finally had a fight for the lead, and he solidified his lead after boxing for a fresh set of hards and coming out with 3 cars between him and Verstappen, which meant he looked really good for the race win. Until the Tory terrorist threw a spanner in the works, completely turning in on Verstappen, sending debris across the track, bringing out the safety car.
I turn now. Good luck, everybody else.
This safety car allowed Perez to get a cheap pit stop and Verstappen to get a fresh set of hards, and with Leclerc not boxing, he was at a disadvantage. Off the restart, Leclerc manages to keep the lead, but only for a few laps, as on lap 32, Perez gets up the inside and takes the lead from Charlie Brown, but he didn't hold on for very long, as just 3 laps later, Leclerc catches Checo napping up the inside and retakes the lead. It was like a game of cat and mouse between the Mexican and the Monegasque, but unfortunately for them, there was a Dutch vulture looking to ruin the fun. What are you talking to me? Lap 36, Verstappen gets past Perez like he's not even there. Lap 37, Verstappen overtakes Charlie Brown for the lead, and for the final time this race fucks off into the distance.
He's done it again! That is a foul! You fucking little bastard!
This leaves the cat and mouse to get back to their game, and on lap 43 they do just that, as Leclerc locks up just before the strip, losing the second place to Checo.
Well, that was fucking dreadful.
But it's not over, as on the final lap, Perez can't hold off the Monegasque as he goes diving down the inside with a brilliant move to take second position on the final lap, which means Verstappen wins from Leclerc pole again.
Bastard!
With Charlie Brown in second and Perez in third, finishing off the podium. So what does this mean for the championship? Well, surprise, surprise, Verstappen wins again and gains more points at the top of the table, and Red Bull do the same. With that third place, Perez secures himself in P2 of the championship.
What took you so long?
This weekend also saw Hamilton cement his P3, meaning the championship podium has already been decided going into the final race.
Really?
And after an awesome race by Leclerc and a great recovery from Sainz, Ferrari pulled to within 4 points of Mercedes in the Constructors, making the Constructors fight a lot more interesting than the Drivers one. Ocon somehow managed to get a 4th place finish, but unfortunately doesn't really change the Drivers or Constructors championships. Lance Stroll somehow produces his 2nd good race in a row, going from 19th to 5th, as he is making a magical resurgence at the end of the season. And the most important result of the race, P10, went to Oscar Piastri, so well done if you predicted that. In a bit.